The Galactic Council had seen thousands of species rise and fall across the stars. They had witnessed civilizations that could bend reality itself, races that existed as pure energy, and empires spanning entire nebulae. But they had never seen anything quite like humanity's peculiar brand of stubbornness wrapped in compassion. Milo Chen stood before the council chambers, his posture carefully measured, his breathing controlled. Inside the front pocket of his gray hoodie, two tiny creatures, no bigger than his thumb, stirred against the fabric. He could feel their heartbeats, rapid, fragile things that reminded him just how precarious their situation was. Human designated Milo Chen, the Arcturian Chancellor's voice boomed through the crystalline hall, each word translated simultaneously into 17,000 languages. You stand accused of violating Preservation Protocol 97. You have interfered with the natural extinction cycle of a protected species. Milo's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice level. With respect, Chancellor, the Lxari aren't going extinct naturally. The Krovan Mining Consortium deliberately destabilized their moon's orbit to access the mineral deposits beneath. A murmur rippled through the assembled delegates. The Krovan representative, a hulking creature of chitin and corporate efficiency, clicked its mandibles dismissively. The economic impact assessment was filed in accordance with standard procedures. The Lxari population numbered fewer than 10,000. Cost-benefit analysis clearly justified. "They're people," Milo interrupted, and the entire chamber fell silent. Such breaches of protocol simply didn't happen here. Not line items and a profit margin. In his pocket, one of the cubs, Sira, he'd named her, shifted position. He felt her tiny claws catch on the fabric. Automatically, unconsciously, Milo adjusted his stance, redistributing his weight so smoothly that no one watching would have noticed the microscopic change in his center of gravity. He'd been practicing for weeks. The Chancellor's 6 eyes narrowed. "You evacuated 23 Lxari from their dying world without authorization. You transported them aboard your vessel. You have bonded with juvenile specimens, which our xenobiologists inform us creates an irreversible psychological dependency." "Yes," Milo said simply. "You understand this violates every protocol we have established?" "I understand that your protocols let an entire species die because saving them wasn't economically convenient." Another delegate spoke up, a Verdanian whose species had evolved beyond physical form centuries ago. Their voice resonated directly in every mind present. "Human, you demonstrate the emotional volatility your species is known for. The Lxari are not compatible with standard habitation environments. They require specific atmospheric compositions, precise temperature ranges, and gravitational fields we cannot replicate in transit facilities. They will die in your care." Milo's hand moved, not to his pocket, never to his pocket where the cub slept, but to the datapad at his belt. "Permission to present evidence." The Chancellor gestured assent. The holographic display filled the chamber's center. It showed a makeshift habitat aboard Milo's ship, the Wandering Star. Soft bedding constructed from his own clothing. A feeding system jury-rigged from medical equipment. Environmental controls hacked together from parts meant for 3 different systems. And in the corner of the frame, curled together in a nest of cotton and warmth, were the 2 cubs. Sira and her brother, whom Milo had named after a word in the ancient Lxari language that meant hope. "I've maintained them for 47 days, Milo said quietly. "Their health markers are stable. Better than stable, they're thriving." The Verdanian's presence conveyed skepticism. "For now, what happens when you must sleep? When you have other duties? These creatures require constant monitoring, constant care. No individual can sustain such attention indefinitely." Something changed in Milo's expression then. Not quite a smile, but something ancient and knowing that every parent across every species would recognize. "You're right," he said. "No individual can, but I'm not alone." The display shifted. Now it showed messages, hundreds of them, streaming in from across human space and beyond. Offers of assistance, schematics for better habitat designs, xenobiologists volunteering their expertise, a Centauri engineer explaining how to modify standard environmental controls, even a Krovan, not from the mining consortium, who sent detailed mineral composition requirements with a note that said simply, Some of us still remember what matters. Humans aren't the strongest species, Milo continued. We're not the smartest. We can't manipulate dark matter or phase through dimensions, but we're very, very good at one thing. We carry what needs to be carried, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's hard. In his pocket, Sira yawned, a tiny sound that somehow carried in the vast chamber's perfect acoustics. Several delegates looked startled. One, a Felician whose own species raised their young communally, made a soft trilling sound that was definitely not translated but needed no translation. The Chancellor was silent for a long moment. "You have learned to walk without jolting," they observed. "Sir, we have been watching you throughout this hearing. You have adjusted your posture 43 times to avoid disturbing the young ones you carry. You have modulated your breathing, controlled your stress responses, maintained perfect stillness in your upper body while shifting your weight with each movement they make. This is not learned through programming or enhancement. This is adaptation." Milo felt his throat tighten. "They need me to be still, so I learned to be still." Another long silence fell. Finally, the Verdanian spoke again, and now their mental voice carried something different, something almost like respect. "The Council has witnessed computational species that can calculate faster than light can travel. We have seen beings that experience time nonlinearly, but perhaps we have forgotten that there is a different kind of intelligence, a different kind of strength." The Chancellor rose from their seat. "Milo Chen of Earth, you are hereby appointed guardian advocate for the Lxari people. The Council will provide resources and support for their relocation and protection, but they will be under human stewardship. Do you accept this responsibility?" "Yes." No hesitation, no doubt. "Then these proceedings are concluded, and human Chen—" The Chancellor's expression shifted into what might have been their species' equivalent of a smile. "Perhaps you might teach our delegation how one walks without jolting. Several of us have recently bonded with companion species ourselves, and we are finding it more challenging than anticipated." As Milo left the chamber, maintaining that careful, practiced gait that had become second nature, he felt Sira press her tiny face against his chest through the fabric. In 47 days, she'd grown just slightly bigger. In 47 more, she'd need a larger space. Eventually, she'd need a world. He'd figure it out. Humans always did. Because when something small and helpless curled up in your pocket and trusted you with their whole world, you didn't just carry them carefully. You learned to walk without jolting.